So what are mergeable applications, or mApps as everybody calls them today? Why do I even want to use them? And how do I apply them to my system? I'm Scott Valler, Senior Solutions Architect and Consultant with Excalibur Data Systems. So let's figure that out. To get started, a mergeable application is essentially a blueprint of somebody else's work that you can merge or blend into your existing Cherwell service management system. And that way you can choose whether you overwrite existing stuff, you add additional content, or blend things together, such as adding a unique field somewhere within your incident object, as opposed to just overriding your incident object. So one of the easiest ways to get them is to load up the administrative tool, go to the mApp section, and say go to mApp Marketplace. It's going to load up this website, which is also linked off of the Cherwell community site, and it's going to list tons of different mApps that you can download. Here's a handful that Excalibur Data Systems has put out there for free. We're going to go through applying an mApp right now. I have a small mApp that I built earlier that we're going to go through and just see what it looks like to apply that. And as we go through the application wizard, it's going to ask us a series of questions and present some data. Standard license agreement. There are three choices as the path that you're going to take when you go through the wizard. We're going to go through all three of them so you can see what that experience is like. And we're going to start with the easiest, which is don't ask me anything unless you're stuck and don't know what to do. And that's it. This mApp didn't have any conflicts or anything where it wasn't quite sure whether it should merge or not, so it just done. This is a summary screen. So we'll start up here. On the business object, in this case, the action is merge, and there are 4 things that can happen. It can merge, it can overwrite, make no changes, or it can import. And off to the right, you'll see that the target is new because it didn't find a matching item that already existed in your system. Don't change is just that. Leave what you have in place and don't alter anything. And the reason this one came up was the action command name field was already found in the incident subcategory table. And I designed the mApp to say that if that field is already there, just leave it alone. But if it wasn't there and it was new, go ahead and import it. In this case, it found it, so it left it alone. The one above it, though, says overwrite. You'll notice to the right, it found an action command field. I'm changing the behavior of that field in this mApp, so I have to overwrite that field, specifically with this new content. And then the merge is specifically for business objects and form arrangements. It gives me the ability to be granular right down to the individual field and say, for this field, just ignore it. I don't care. Leave it alone. It doesn't matter if it's there or not. I'm not doing anything with it. But for these 8 fields here that I've listed, I specifically want to bring them in or overwrite or do something with them because these are the fields I care about. The rest of the object, I'm going to completely ignore and leave it untouched. Everything else is pretty much, I'm either importing it, I'm not changing it, or I'm overwriting it. You don't really have a merge option when it comes to a one-step or an image or anything like that. So at this point, you can see every single thing that's going to be touched, and you have the ability to save it out to a file. When you go to save this out to a file, there's a variety of different formats as you see. HTML is my favorite. Let's go ahead and overwrite the test that I did earlier. And let's just see what that looks like. And this way, when you're looking at the blueprint, you can have this up on your other screen and you can kind of go through and see, it touched this, it touched this, it touched this. And you can see what they did before you apply it. And right now, I get to choose. Do I just want to shove this into my system blindly? Or do I want to make a blueprint? And the reality is you're going to want to make a blueprint so that you can come in and take a look at what's going on, make some additional modifications, if necessary, before you publish. So that's what it looks like to say, just do it all for me. What's it look like if I want to go to the next step and I want more options? Well, I could say make the reasonable decisions, which is the default. And in this case, it's going to jam through until it comes to a point where it's not quite sure whether or not it should overwrite or cause a conflict. So at this point, it's not quite sure what to do because I have a couple fields that are conflicting. They already exist. So it's going to give me the option to choose explicitly, what do I want to do? Do I want to just leave it alone? Keep what I've got? Do I want to overwrite, etc.? If you see this and you're happy with it, you can just hit next, because that's going to be the default that it would do if you said just bang through this for me without asking me anything. And then you're going to get to the end with the same summary, the same ability to save to a file, and the same ability to go to a blueprint. Now let's go look at the last option, which is ask me everything. Sometimes you'll go here because you want to specifically say, don't bring in that date time expression, don't bring in this one step, or because when you got to the summary, you'll notice that there's an expression or a one step that it chose not to bring in for whatever reason, even though there was no conflict in the system. And you know that you need to go through and tell it, yes, do bring that in. Happens every once in a great while. It's very rare, but I have seen it on occasion. And the only way to deal with that is to come through and answer every question. And as long as you take the default, it's going to do what it would normally do. So here I'm just going to let it select the existing business object as opposed to creating a new one or skipping it, not bringing it in at all. Remember on this one, every single business object, every expression, every form, all of those items, it's going to ask you explicitly what to do. So here before we didn't see what to do with the forms. Now I could choose. I really don't want to bring this one in. Here we have a new business object that doesn't exist in the system. So it's going to come down here and create the new object. I could skip it, or I could select an existing business object in an attempt to try to overwrite it and move on. It's got forms and grids. What am I doing with those? And then you start getting into one steps and searches and stuff. So what do we want to do? Do I want to bring in this one step? Do I want to bring in these images? Do I not want to overwrite that existing image that's already in my system? Or maybe I do. Do I want to overwrite my existing theme? Maybe I don't. Maybe I've already tweaked that theme. And again, summary, and the same ability to publish. Once you've published your blueprint for the new mApp into the system, if you come back here to the mApp section, you can go look at mApps that are installed, and it will just give you a list of them, as well as come down here to the mApp history, and it's going to show you every object and all of the things that were altered by the mApps that you have published into your system. mApps are a great way to extend your system and take advantage of all of the great designers and ideas that are floating around in our community and help you get up to speed quicker. If you have any questions, please reach out and let us know. We'd be happy to answer them. Have a great day.